Hey guys, it's Phil here. I'm recording this again. I apologize. I had this recorded yesterday, and I don't know, somewhere along the way I bungled the recording, so it didn't turn out. So what's on the site right now is old material from last year. What's funny is what's on there from last year is so much older than what's possible already, which is kind of funny. So I may just leave the video there so you can kind of see how things have changed and how we're thinking about things differently. We're going to get into personalization. Hopefully omni-channel starts to come together for you. It should gel here a little bit. These are the next kind of 3, 11, 12, 13, the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be really, are when things are really come together, right? We've done a lot of work around like structure and how, how the business is, struggling to make things happen and all these infrastructure pieces and how complicated it is. These parts should start to come together for you, so you start to think about how things can be different and how you can start to affect what's happening. A couple of housekeeping things. Where can I put that? So I'm gonna draw here. I think I'm gonna put it here. So a couple of housekeeping things. So housekeeping. One is next week. When you guys hear this, book an appointment with me. So send me some times to connect. We're gonna have to do it by Zoom, I think, because I am in New York Wednesday and Thursday, and then Thursday is kind of up in the air. I may have to go to Boston as well. So so I'm kind of like in and out all week, but I'd like to just spend 15 to 20 minutes with each group, just going through, some of you kind of had thoughts about where you were going with this, and then some of you hadn't really looked at it yet, which is fine, but I do, we're kind of like 11, 12, 13, so we're really 3 to 4 weeks out now before the end, so I want to just make sure that, we're gonna be okay. So it's not really 3 things, it's really 1 thing. But so next week, book an appointment with me for your group. We'll spend 15 to 20 minutes talking about where you guys are, how things are going, how do you feel. So we'll do a check-in. I do want to hear about just how school's going, and then also about how the project is going. How you feel about it, okay? Bring me questions that you are ready to answer, or that you want me to answer for you. If there's any issues or any worries you have, start to bring that out so we can start to figure out some of those things. Now, personalization has so many components to this that are just so very, very, very interesting. The funniest part about the video that's in there right now is from last year, is we focused a lot here on store interaction, right? So this is the ability of a store, so a store with this kind of layer of personalization, which you see in the textbook, and then customer interaction history, and this whole interaction. The store has always had ability to do some interactive stuff, right? So with point of sale data, they've always been able to figure out clusters, so you can figure out, like, so things like yogurt, right? So for yogurt, cherry yogurt is peach yogurt is a great example. In Quebec, you'd find a lot of peach yogurt. In Ontario, you wouldn't. You would find blueberry yogurt, and so on and so forth. And you've always been able to do that by sales trends or point of sale data, which is interesting. And we, retailers have been doing that forever. I can literally think of would have been early 2000s when we were really doing it in earnest and building clusters of stores and clusters of products and clusters of segments on shelf where you would do some of that stuff. And stores, you could do that by geographic cluster. You could do it by demographic cluster. And then you could also do it by, shoot, there was one more. So POS, you could locate geographic. You would locate. Sorry, I'm just going to erase this for a second, and let's do this so I can think this through properly. So POS clusters allow you to be able to do geographic regions. So that example of peach yogurt in Quebec versus blueberry in Ontario. You could do it by demographic, clusters. So, another one that's out there, like high in high Asian areas, you get a higher soy milk, sort of concentration versus cow's milk. And so that's a demographic cluster you could do. So if you went to Markham, the Markham milk sections would look a little bit different than Mississauga, where you've got a very equally balanced, and then versus downtown, where you've got a younger audience that's more attuned to alternative forms of milk, right? So you could do a demographic cluster. You can also do economic clusters, and so this could be like banner wise, this is something companies do, right? So Loblaws has many banners. If you go to the Loblaws company, Loblaws owns Snow Frills, they own Loblaws, they own Great Canadian Superstore, they own Zayres, they own kind of a multitude of brands, and so they would cluster economically, right? So a Fortino's would be in Vaughan, where there's a slightly more affluent upper class, that wants European flavored, European style food, versus a No Frills, which you would put, in kind of a working class area, versus a Great Canadian Superstore, which you would put, in a Mississauga, like a full commuter neighborhood like Mississauga or Burlington, Milton sort of thing. And so, these three kind of personalizations have been out there a long time. None of them are kind of rocket science. You can continue to do this, and we'll continue to do this. What you're starting to see is, if you look in the news, for instance, Whole Foods just opened a what we would kind of call a bodega on the west side of the Bronx, or in Brooklyn, and so you're going to see more custom shops come out, smaller, that sort of thing, and then Macy's is doing pop-ups in all their stores, right? So all of these are customizations that you can derive geographically. You would do that by using POS data as your kind of personalization engine. So you would use POS data. You might use socioeconomic data. Sorry, can't spell. Socioeconomic data, and so on and so forth. This is probably where the lesson from last year would focus a ton on, because we had a lot of this data. We know how to use it. We know how to leverage it, that sort of thing. Where the world has changed, and last year we had some of this, but not as much, is now social buying is the thing. If you think about the kind of information that you can collect from Facebook panel, like the Facebook admin page or the Facebook analytics panel and those sort of things, you can personalize in Facebook to different groups. So so advertising now becomes more more personalized. You can also drive product discovery through this as well. And so you're starting to see this. Sephora is still probably the best at this of anybody, but you're starting to see guys like Sports Check and Indigo, wander into this space and try and get you to buy things through Instagram or discover them through Instagram. So another dimension of personalization here that you're going to play a big part in. Sorry, that's supposed to be a divider, and it wasn't a very good divider. Let's see if I can just do that properly. There we go. And so this is another area where you are going to spend a lot of time helping brands and retailers figure out, like, how do you do personalization differently across these dimensions. Okay, so mobile is another one of these. And mobile has started to really drive a differentiator here as well. You're part of the Toronto food scene. I know most of you are foodies, and so you look at Foodora, who's here. You look at Ritual. One of my favorites is Ritual. Uber Eats. All of these are mobile-driven, kind of things. That are helping to drive a differentiation in the market, and allows you to personalize, right? Because when you go into when you go in now, what you're getting is also customized to you in terms of where did you eat last, how far is this place from you, when should you leave, what kind of coupons do you want, do you have a team, if you add people to your team in Ritual, you can actually get bonus points and discounts and things like that. So there's another layer of personalization in here, and then when you get to the internet, by internet here, the book shows its age a little bit, but by internet I mean when you're on a desktop or a PC and you're shopping, that sort of thing. What you're starting to see is, and it's multifaceted, right? So we've been very kind of retail focused here, and so you've still got, like, you've got the Amazons of the world who are kind of differentiating. You've got Indigo, who's doing some cart recommendation stuff now. Sports Check is doing the same thing. You've got well.ca, and pretty much everybody and their mother does cart abandon type stuff. And all of this is personalization, right? Is you're reaching these people either through recommended products that you want them to buy, a augmented purchase where you can start to drive different purchases or augmented additions to your shopping basket, and then there's kind of the whole Amazon, will you check this out? Are you shopping for this? Did you want this? Do you want us to let you know when it's on sale? Google Alerts will allow you to do that, and all sorts of things like that. And, there's kind of all of this recommendation stuff where you look something up and now it follows you. Actually, hold that thought. Okay, hold that thought for 1 second, because that's probably even more interesting to all of this. But so right now, recommendation engines, all of this kind of stuff is happening. In the I'll just show you. I think I've got it here. So as I'm editing this file, as I'm doing, this is the old lesson that was here, and then where did the new file go? I seem to have lost my file. But in here, I've got some slides I want to add in here, that that will talk about how personalization is kind of a big deal. So here, if you look, sorry, and I'll put this in there as well, but Facebook, Pinterest, Spotify, Netflix, they all personalize. We've talked about this before. What's coming is kind of being able to leverage Waze and Uber Pool and next door recommendations, Snap Map, that sort of thing. That's going to help you again customize your experience and grow and help you purchase or find things. So all of this is really in the last couple of years, we've gone from 20 years of doing this to 5 years of doing some of this, some of this, some of this, and now we're starting to really ratchet up the pace here of all of these things. And then if you think about what you're doing, what you've been learning, here's the tie-in, right? Is I'm going to use a highlighter because it probably makes the most sense, is right across the spectrum, your tie-in to all of this is now things that you know. So advertising, right? So advertising, whether it be the Google stuff or Facebook ads or Instagram ads, all of that kind of stuff crosses all of this, spectrum of things in terms of personalizing from a whole different dimension, right? So if you think of this as different dimensions, all of these things that we're doing here, these are kind of transactional, shopping decision and shopping interest sort of things that you have to do. The cross-sectional stuff in terms of advertising now is you personalizing and kind of almost taking this shelf and extending it out, so that it's really a multifunctional sort of thing, right? Because the advert really makes this three-dimensional, because it really starts to, I wish I almost had a stick that would kind of poke you in the eye or poke you in the nose as you're watching this, that would kind of give you that third dimension of, hey, advertising is in your face and it wants to drive you to any one of your preferred channels that you'd like to be able to work in or shop in. And so personalization for you guys is such a big deal because you understand this better than anybody else. And what you're gonna want to do is try and figure out how to leverage that, to help you out. So on that note, I'm gonna just divert for 1 second here because I do want to talk about this for a second. I think that where this is kind of a horrible green, but how you can help organizations. So as you think about this, here are the things that you can do that probably nobody else can do. Okay, so some things the organizations are going to understand better than anybody else. So they're going to understand their consumer behavior and their consumer personas. I think in most organizations, as much as we like to disparage them, most organizations understand their consumer persona. So who they are, what they do, what they buy. What they won't understand is how to make each of these channels come together. So you can be a bridge, okay? You can be a bridge to all of these kind of categories, and how to tie them together. So you're kind of this, you are the pink highlighter in this diagram. And the reason for that is because you're going to see the bigger picture on what campaigns look like. You're not going to get trapped in each of these categories because you understand the mechanics of each of them, okay? So you're going to be the bridge that kind of ties these initiatives together and helps them understand what they can do and what they can't do. The other things that you're going to be able to do is isolate the mechanism. So here I say advert. What you want to see is you want to see the mechanisms that you know or that are coming down the line that allows you to rally the organization to build, on this cross-shelf, cross-mobile, cross-everything, that allows you to be able to build, exceptional personalization programs, okay? you guys have the training for it, quite frankly. With all the work that you've been doing this semester, that's probably the thing that you drive the most. For those that are into data, the things that you're going to be able to provide. Point of sale data is a given. You're all going to understand that. Where you're going to be able to layer in, if you're interested in the in the data part of that, is the psychographics of this. Psychographics. You're going to be able to layer in inbound traffic, right? You're gonna have link specific tracking, which you know how to do. And kind of the list goes on and on and on. But all of these things allow you to be this person, this pink bridge. So your goal is to try and be a pink bridge that kind of ties all these things together. When you do that, you're going to be in a better place. You're gonna be able to help the organization drive better answers. And what I haven't covered here at all, if you think about all of this stuff, is there's kind of like a whole nother layer to this. I'm trying to pick something that's not got a horrible color, because I've been picking horrible colors, but I think I'm going to just continue that. But the other pieces that you're going to, okay, go away color selector. So the other things that we haven't even talked about yet are personalization to the consumer directly. So all of these things are part of the shopping experience, of the decision-making experience. This is part of their, this is part of their selection process. But when they get into store, or they get into an e-commerce store or whatever, there's a packaging of experience that comes with this too. And this is the entirety of, think of like when you sign up for a new app and you get those onboarding emails, and how cool they are, or how funny they are, or how boring they are, kind of determines whether you stay or not. And so how do you think about this path to purchase? So think of all the things that you've done from path to purchase, and all those things in bricks and mortar stores, and the assignments that they've made you do. Think about, how do I make that a different experience for someone who's coming into my store, coming into my brand as a path to purchase? You can help them with the onboarding, because you've got the insight to be able to do that, whether that's by welcome emails and all that kind of stuff, all the way into the way they, curating a shop for them, which is covered in some of this, but not all of it, right? Because you're going to be able to build a story and help them stay, collect the information they want. You're going to be able to think of the IKEA model of, being able to VR your way into somebody's living room so that they can see what it might look like, see what it might the purchase journey might look like, right? So if I put that in my living room, what would it look like? If I could put this on, what would it look like on me? All of those sort of things. And then beyond that is, you're going to be able to offer, different purchase options, right? Packaged, unpackaged, you take it with you now, ship it to your house, buy it online, see it online, buy it online, see it online, buy it in store, see it online, pick it up in store, all those sort of things. So this process, this personalization, kind of really ties everything that we've done together into, kind of this multifaceted, multi-headed thing. And it probably hammers home more the idea of, look, you've got, this is why retailers struggle, right? Because they can't do, you've already seen it over the last couple of weeks, is they can do this, they can sort of do this, they can sort of do this, they can sort of do this, they can't do this, and then they don't know how to do them all together. And so when it comes to this, this is like a whole different dimension that they almost don't know what to do with. And so if you think of your ability, you guys are equipped to handle everything on this page. And so you really do want to figure out how to make that come to life, so that they understand, hey, I've got the skills to be an omni-channel person who can help you grow and help you build your business. Okay. This is personalization. What I would ask you to do is take this information, go back and think about the projects, and so at this point, whenever you hear this, the next steps for you is shoot me an email to book a time next week. Your group, you guys decide. So just know that I'm in New York Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So those days are probably going to be pretty tough for me, but otherwise I can do any of the other days. So if you guys could send me 2 options, please, and then I'll pick one, and then I'll schedule the Zoom meeting for us. But if you could do that, that'd be great. Spend some time thinking about, all of this so that you can articulate something to me. If you have something drawn out, sketched out, if you want to sketch it on paper and take a picture and send it to me, any of those things would help me understand where you are, so that I can help you kind of build your progress to get to the end of this, and then give all of this a think, so that we can get moving and I can get you a good mark on this project at the end. Okay, so this is personalization. I hope this was interesting. Send me any questions you have. For sure, this will generate a ton of questions for you. But I am super excited. We're kind of into the last pieces that are pretty interesting to go over. If you are following the textbook is I will warn you that the textbook is quite dry. It's chapter 22 in volume 2. It is kind of dry. Here they talk about A/B testing, which as well. I did not cover this again because we kind of covered this ad nauseum last semester as well in SEM and SEO, SEM in particular. But all of these things are things that we talked about, and then the issues that are in here, we've talked about ad nauseum as well, which is why I've kind of skipped it, because we've done a lot of this in depth. The one thing that continues to be a drain is not your data. So this is something that is going to continue to evolve. A part of what you have to do is to start keeping an eye on legislation and what happens to data, how it's collected. GDPR is out there. The EU just released a brand new kind of segment on copyrights, which is going to change the way YouTubers do things and streaming and all that kind of stuff. The rest of this I think is pretty straightforward. I've covered it in this lesson, and then next week we're going to get to mobile, which is going to be pretty interesting as well. Okay, so that is it. I hope you guys are staying sane. I do miss you guys. I was kind of looking forward to seeing you next week, but I got preempted by this travel schedule. But if what I might do is in week 13, so that's next week is week 12, and then week 13, I might aim to come in and just see you guys as well, and then and have a chat about everything and kind of finalize everything before we get to week 14. Okay, I hope things are well. Keep talking to me by email. You know where to find me, and I will talk to you guys soon. I miss you guys a lot. Okay, bye.